Hey there. It's so good to have you back with me tonight. Tonight, we're traveling gently through time, to the quiet wonders of the medieval world. As you lie here in the soft darkness, imagine the hush of ancient stone, the faint shimmer of gold leaf, the scent of roses behind a monastery wall. So go ahead, settle in a little deeper. Let your shoulders melt into the mattress. Feel the weight of the day slowly drift away. Take one long, slow breath and let everything else go. I'm going to share a few fascinating facts with you tonight, each one a tiny luminous window into the past. There's no need to remember anything, no test to pass. If you drift off somewhere along the way, that's exactly where you're meant to be. If nights like these help your mind unwind, consider subscribing, and I'll be right here whenever you need a gentle voice in the dark. Now, let's begin. In the heart of Istanbul stands the Hagia Sophia, a place where light seems to forget the rules of gravity. Its massive dome appears to float effortlessly above the sanctuary, as if suspended by a quiet miracle. This illusion is made possible by four hidden pendentives, curved triangular supports that channel the immense weight down into the pillars below. When it was completed in 537 AD, the interior was bathed in a sea of golden mosaics, tiny cubes of glass and stone that catch even the faintest candlelight. The architects designed the space to feel like a glimpse of heaven, a vast, serene expanse where divine light filters through 40 arched windows. Standing inside must have felt like being wrapped in a warm celestial hush, the noise of the world replaced by a profound stillness. And speaking of golden light, imagine a monk in a cold stone scriptorium, hunched over a sheet of vellum as soft as silk. Medieval illuminated manuscripts were painted with pigments that carried their own distant stories. The deepest, most luminous blue came from lapis lazuli, a stone mined in the remote mountains of Afghanistan, then carried by camel across countless miles. Scribes spent endless quiet hours grinding these precious stones into powder, mixing them with egg yolk or gum arabic to create paint that still glows centuries later. With a single delicate brushstroke, they laid down delicate gold leaf, spiraling vines and tiny flowers that seem to shimmer under candlelight. If you could hold one of these pages today, you'd see the way the gold catches the light, a soft, breathing glow that feels almost alive. It was a labor of devotion, a silent prayer made visible. This same longing for light transformed the great Gothic cathedrals of Europe. In places like Chartres or Notre Dame, architects reached for the heavens, but stone alone could not support such lofty dreams. So they created flying buttresses, graceful, arching ribs of stone that lean against the walls from the outside, like gentle hands offering support. This hidden engineering allowed the walls to rise taller and thinner, opening up space for enormous stained glass windows. Sunlight pours through these jewel-toned panes, deep ruby reds, cobalt blues, and soft emerald greens. The light falls onto the cold stone floors in a warm, muted kaleidoscope, a slow dance of color that shifts with the passing clouds. To step inside was to leave the ordinary world behind and enter a realm of hushed, filtered beauty. Far from the soaring spires, a different kind of wonder wove the world together. In the 11th century, the Silk Road stretched like a quiet ribbon across deserts and mountains, linking distant lands not by force, but by gentle exchange. Caravans moved slowly, laden with shimmering silks and the warm fragrance of spices, cinnamon, cardamom, and sandalwood. But more precious than the goods were the ideas that traveled along these routes. Philosophers shared thoughts on the nature of the soul. Artists sketched designs that blended Persian geometry with Chinese cloud motifs. Indian numerals quietly slipped into Western mathematics, changing everything. The Silk Road was a slow, patient conversation between cultures, a tapestry woven from countless threads of peaceful curiosity. It reminds us that true connection is never about speed, but about the gentle, timeless rhythm of give and take. And finally, a secret hidden behind stone walls. In the medieval imagination, the Hortus Conclusus was a sacred garden, enclosed and protected from the chaos beyond. These walled sanctuaries were filled with fragrant lilies and soft velvety roses, their petals catching the morning dew. A small fountain trickled in the center, its gentle murmur the only sound. Every element was chosen to evoke a feeling of eternal spring,
a place where time slowed and the soul could rest. To sit in such a garden was to remember that stillness is not emptiness, but a quiet fullness, like a cup held carefully so it doesn't spill. These hidden gardens were a living metaphor for inner peace, a reminder that even in a busy world, we can cultivate a quiet corner within ourselves. As you drift now, let these ancient wonders carry you softly into sleep. The floating dome, the shimmering page, the rose-scented garden. They are all still here, waiting in the quiet corners of your imagination. Rest well, my friend. Imagine holding a small gold coin in the palm of your hand. It is the solidus, a Byzantine treasure. For centuries, these shimmering discs moved quietly through the trade routes of the Mediterranean, from the sun-bleached stalls of Alexandria to the shadowed loggias of Venice. Each one bore the serene face of an emperor, a silent guardian of its purity. The weight was constant, the gold untarnished, a promise that never wavered. Merchants trusted them, and they passed from hand to hand with a soft, reassuring clink, like a whisper of stability across the seas. Holding it, you might think of the quiet hands that shaped it, the distant mines, the slow fires of the mint. For over 7 centuries, this coin was the steady heartbeat of an empire's economy. As we let that coin rest in our imagination, we might turn to another quiet pursuit of value, the alchemist's work. Medieval alchemy was not simply a frantic search for gold, but a gentle, patient exploration. In the stillness of a cellar, an alchemist would watch a single bead of liquid condense in a glass vial, the fire beneath it so low it barely glowed. They sought to understand the slow rhythms of nature, how a metal blushes when heated, how crystals form like tiny stars. It was a philosophy, a soft conversation between the earth's secrets and the heavens above. By candlelight, they recorded each transformation, believing the universe was a harmonious whole, and by listening closely, they might hear its quiet music. They believed that by watching a liquid slowly turn to vapor or a powder dissolve, you could glimpse the very design of creation. The alchemist's notes, filled with delicate symbols, were love letters to the natural world. That same devotion to knowledge, that gentle gathering of light, found a grand home far from the alchemist's small flame. In the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, the air was heavy with the scent of old parchment and ink. Scholars moved through hushed halls, their robes brushing the marble like a slow tide. Precious scrolls from Greece and Rome were laid out, their words asleep for centuries, by the light of oil lamps. Translators bent over their desks, coaxing ancient wisdom into flowing Arabic script. They saved the thoughts of Aristotle and Galen, preserving them like a delicate flower pressed between pages. It was a patient labor of love, a quiet bridge across time, so the great minds of antiquity would continue to whisper to the future, long after their native tongues had fallen silent. Imagine walking through those halls when the outside world was loud with the bustle of the city. Yet inside, there was only the rustle of turning pages and the murmurs of scholars consulting in soft, respectful voices. And as words were being saved on paper, stories were also being woven into fabric, in a very different kind of quiet labor. Picture a great hall in the cool of evening. A soft draft stirs the edges of a massive tapestry, and the woven images seem to breathe. The Bayeux tapestry was not mere decoration, but a silent, layered narrative. With each slow pass of the shuttle, a weaver added a thread of wool to a sprawling scene. A long procession of horses and ships drifts across the linen in earthy terracotta, soft sage, and muted blue. You can almost feel the slow rhythm of the loom, a heartbeat beneath the images as a story ripples quietly across the wall, night after night. The colors were born from the earth itself, madder root for a warm red, woad for a gentle blue, all mellowed by time until they seemed to hum with a gentle, ancient light. This handcrafted rhythm finds its purest echo in the sanctuaries of the written word, the monastic scriptoriums. Imagine the profound, living silence of a medieval scriptorium. Monks sit at slanted desks, their faces illuminated by the faithful glow of a single window. The only sound is the soft, repetitive scratch of a goose feather quill on vellum, a meditative rhythm from dawn to dusk. They are copying sacred texts, breathing life into each letter with a patient devotion. Gold leaf illuminates a capital like a captured piece of dawn. The ink, a deep and enduring stain of oak gall and iron, marks the page with a solemn grace. In this quiet room, the monks create a gentle vessel, ensuring that the light of thought drifts peacefully, page by patient page, through the long and shadowed corridors of time. It was a form of prayer, a way to slow the mind and connect with the infinite, one letter at a time. As you drift off, you might imagine the soft, steady journey of the quill, a gentle, lulling motion that has soothed the world for centuries. Let us travel together now, not with our bodies, but with our imagination. We drift across the centuries to a place where the light is always soft and the air is still. Picture the city of Istanbul, long ago, when it was known as Constantinople. In the heart of this ancient city stood the Hagia Sophia, a building so grand it seemed to belong to another world. When it was completed in the year 537, its most stunning feature was the great dome above. This dome did not seem to rest heavily on solid walls. Instead, it appeared to float in the air, a perfect golden circle drifting silently over the city. The architects achieved this miracle using curved triangular supports called pendentives. These clever designs carried the immense weight down to four massive, hidden piers. To someone standing inside, looking up, the effect was pure serenity. The dome felt like a canopy of light, an airy and vast space where hundreds of candles made the gold mosaics glimmer like a quiet, distant constellation. It was as if the heavens themselves had been gathered gently under one roof. Now let your mind drift to a much quieter, smaller space. We find ourselves in a medieval scriptorium, a simple room in a stone monastery. The air is cool and still, smelling of old parchment and beeswax. Here, a monk sits by a window, his hand moving with painstaking care. He is creating an illuminated manuscript, a book that is not just written but painted with light. He dips his brush not into simple ink, but into a vibrant blue made from crushed lapis lazuli, a gemstone carried from mountains far, far away. He paints with delicate gold leaf, each flake applied with the softest breath. The Book of Kells, a quiet treasure of Ireland, is one of these. Its pages are an intricate garden of spirals and forms, a silent prayer made visible. Every tiny detail was an act of devotion, meant to capture a divine glow on the page, a gentle shimmer that would tell a sacred story even in the dimmest candlelight. And from the quiet of the scriptorium, let us drift south to a place of warm breezes and whispered learning. In 10th century Spain, the great library of Córdoba was a peaceful bridge between worlds. It held within its walls hundreds of thousands of volumes. Here, the wisdom of ancient Greece was translated into Arabic. Here, Islamic and Christian scholars would sit side by side, not in conflict, but in a shared spirit of gentle curiosity. They pored over star charts, trying to map the silent music of the cosmos. They discussed philosophy, their hushed voices blending in the courtyards, filled with the scent of orange blossoms and the sound of fountains. The library was a testament to a simple, profound idea, that knowledge is a quiet light meant to be shared, a gentle stream nourishing all who come to drink. This same human yearning to reach upward and capture the light found another expression in stone and glass. Imagine a Gothic cathedral, its presence ancient and serene. These soaring structures, built across Europe, used a clever architectural feature called the flying buttress. These graceful arches of stone, reaching out like the ribs of a great stone ship, supported the towering walls from the outside. This meant the walls themselves could be punctured by immense windows, and in those windows artists set vast panels of stained glass. When the sun streams through, the light is transformed. The outside world falls away, and you are bathed in a soft, dreaming glow. Sapphire blues and ruby reds fall upon the cool stone floor in gentle, colorful pools. The very air seems to thicken with a luminous haze, making the space feel less like a building and more like a silent, colorful dream you can step inside. Finally, let us drift across the vast landscape itself, carried on an invisible wind. The Silk Road was not a single paved road. It was a floating network of trails, a delicate lace laid across the immense and ancient world. For centuries, it connected the distant cultures of the East and West. Picture a slow-moving caravan of camels, bells ringing softly with each step, silhouetted against a setting sun. They carried bolts of shimmering silk that rustled like a whisper in the desert breeze. They carried fragrant spices, cinnamon and clove, that told stories of faraway, mysterious islands. But the most precious cargo of all was invisible. It was the gentle exchange of ideas. A musician's melody would travel 1,000 miles to be played on a new instrument in a foreign court. A philosopher's thought, spoken in one language, would be carefully translated into another, planting a seed of curiosity in a mind a continent away. It was a slow, peaceful dance of connection, a reminder that we are all part of the same quiet story. Imagine the soft glow of an oil lamp falling on countless manuscripts, each one patiently copied by candlelight. But the most delicate touch of all was in their mosaics, tiny glass tiles, called tesserae, each no bigger than a fingernail. Artists pressed millions of them into the walls and domes, creating vast, luminous scenes. Figures of saints and emperors stand draped in robes of blue and gold, their expressions serene, almost floating in the dim, quiet space. Under the gentle flicker of oil flames, those robes seem to shimmer, as if woven from sky and starlight. Now carry that same sense of quiet precision upward into the night sky. Medieval astronomers would hold a delicate brass instrument in their hands, an astrolabe. It felt cool and weighty, engraved with intricate overlapping circles, like a tiny metal universe you could turn with your thumb. Standing alone in an open courtyard, the astronomer would tilt the astrolabe toward the heavens, aligning its moving plates with the steady path of a distant star. By simply following those celestial patterns overhead, he could gently find his place on the wide earth below. This was not frantic discovery, it was a conversation with the cosmos, a slow, rotating dance of metal and starlight, and from the language of the stars we descend to the language of thread. In great halls across medieval Europe, looms stood as tall as trees, holding stories woven in wool and linen. The Bayeux tapestry, though it's actually an embroidery, unfurls like a flowing river of images, soft and continuous. Countless tiny stitches in muted blues, browns, and greens form a visual journey of a historical voyage. You can almost feel the texture changing under your fingertips as you walk past it. Here a horse's flaring nostril, there a gently bobbing ship, all stitched with remarkable care. The fabric itself tells the tale, without a single spoken word, in a murmur that has lasted nearly 1,000 years. And after such a long journey, it's only natural to seek a quiet place to rest. High up in a castle's stone tower, away from the clatter of the great hall, there was a room called the solar. It was the Lord's private chamber, designed to catch the most sunlight during the day. Soft furs were laid over wooden benches, and woven rugs muffled footfalls into a deep hush. A small window seat might hold a single embroidered cushion, where someone could sit with a book of hours, tracing the luminous script with a finger as the sun slowly moved across the floor. In that warm golden stillness, the world outside, the cold stone, the echoing courtyard, felt distant and harmless. It was just you, the dust motes drifting in a sunbeam, and the gentle weight of peace. Hey, are you still awake? That's all right. You don't have to be. But if you're still drifting with me, there are so many more of these quiet wonders from the medieval world to share, and if you're enjoying this gentle journey, a like helps other night owls find their way here too. In the heart of Istanbul, there stands a building called the Hagia Sophia. Its great dome seems to float above the city, held by hidden supports. Completed long ago, in the year 537, it was a place of gentle beauty. Inside, thousands of lamps flickered softly, casting a warm golden glow. And the walls were covered with mosaics, their tiny pieces shimmering like stars. Imagine standing there, in that quiet light, feeling the weight of centuries drift away. The dome itself was a marvel of engineering, using pendentives to distribute the weight. This allowed the space to feel open and airy, as if the heavens themselves were near. The golden light reflected off the marble floors, creating a sense of floating in a serene sea. And now, let us drift to another place of quiet creation. In medieval times, scribes worked in peaceful rooms called scriptoriums. They painted manuscripts with colors from the earth itself. One color came from a deep blue stone, brought from faraway mountains. This stone was lapis lazuli, traveled from the distant lands of Afghanistan. The scribes spent years on a single page, laying down delicate gold leaves,
the gold caught the candlelight, a soft glimmer in the stillness. Picture their hands, moving slowly and carefully, as time floated past. Each stroke was a meditation, a quiet devotion to beauty and knowledge. The scriptorium was a sanctuary of silence, where only the faint scratch of quills could be heard. From these quiet rooms, we journey to a library that once stood in Spain. The Great Library of Córdoba held hundreds of thousands of scrolls. It was a bridge between worlds, connecting the knowledge of the East and West. Scholars from many lands gathered there, in a spirit of peaceful learning.
They studied the stars and deep questions, their voices hushed and reverent. Feel the silence of those halls, filled only with the turning of pages. The library was a place where ancient Greek texts met Arabic science, all under one roof. The scent of old paper and ink mingled with the quiet hum of intellectual pursuit. It was a testament to how knowledge can unite us, flowing like a gentle stream. And this reaching for the heavens brings us to the great cathedrals. Gothic cathedrals were built to draw the eye upward, toward the sky. Their tall arches and ribbed vaults created a forest of stone. In places like Chartres Cathedral, the windows were made of stained glass. This glass transformed the light into a soft, colorful mist of violets and reds. Stand in that gentle haze, letting the colors wash over you like a quiet dream. These structures were not just buildings, but prayers in stone, reaching for the divine. The pointed arches and flying buttresses allowed the walls to be thin, filled with light. Each ray of sunlight became a sermon in color, telling stories to those who entered. Finally, we follow a path that was never just one road. The Silk Road was a floating network of trade routes. It stretched from the ancient city of Chang'an to the Mediterranean coast. Caravans moved slowly across golden dunes, carrying treasures. They brought fragrant cinnamon, delicate silks, and calming incense. Imagine the camel's soft footsteps on the sand, the scent of spice in the air. This network was not just for goods, but for ideas, art, and religions to travel. The journey was long and slow, a drifting across the vast landscapes of Asia. Under the starry skies, travelers would share stories, weaving a tapestry of human connection. And so, as we rest here, these images drift through our minds. The floating dome, the golden pages, the quiet library. The colored light of cathedrals, the endless desert paths. All these are threads in the vast tapestry of our shared story. Let them wrap around you, soft and gentle, like a blanket of stars. Let us begin with the alchemist's quiet chamber. Imagine a room lit only by candle glow, where time moves like honey. Here, a seeker watches a glass vessel with gentle patience. Inside, vapors curl and fold, soft as dreams. Colors shift slowly, from deep amber to pale silver. This was the search for the philosopher's stone, not a frantic chase, but a slow unfolding. The belief that humble metals could become gold. That transformation was possible in the quietest of ways. Night after night, the alchemist sat with the breath of the flame, listening to the soft gurgle of the liquid, feeling the warmth on their hands. Everything was a meditation on change. Now, let that image of water and care float away, toward another world of floating beauty. On the still surface of Lake Texcoco, the Aztecs built gardens that rested like sleeping birds. Chinampas, they called them. Rafts of fertile earth woven from reeds and mud. These lush green islands drifted softly, tethered by willow roots. Farmers glided between them in silent canoes, tending rows of maize and marigolds. The air hummed with dragonflies. Water surrounded everything with a hush, and Tenochtitlan bloomed peacefully, island upon island, flower upon flower. You could stand on the shore at dusk and watch the gardens slowly merge with the reflection of the sky, until it all became one gentle, breathing mosaic. From these mounded beds of green, let us turn to pages that captured the same quiet growth. In a medieval library, the light fell softly upon an open book. An herbal, its vellum pages painted with delicate inks. Each plant was drawn with tender precision. Chamomile blossoms like tiny suns, lavender sprigs in gentle purple. These books were maps to healing. They showed how nature's rhythms could carry a person toward rest. A hand would trace the lines of text, learning to make a tea from lemon balm under a waning moon, or to harvest mint at dawn when the dew was still cool. Page by page, the herbal whispered, "The earth knows how to soothe you. Just listen." And sometimes, stone itself can learn that same flow. In the Alhambra Palace, the Moors carved ceilings into endless honeycombs. Muqarnas, thousands of small niches like frozen waterfalls. They fold inward, layer upon layer, catching the gentlest light. Shadows drift across them as the sun moves, a slow breath of geometry. Below, water runs through marble channels, so quietly you hardly hear it. The carving echoes the ripples of the pool mirrors the carved vault above. It is as if the whole room is dissolving into a peaceful pattern, solid stone melting into a lullaby of form and light. And finally, let us rest in a place where these quiet arts all meet. Step into a monastery courtyard at twilight. The physic garden is laid out in calm, straight beds, bordered by lavender. The scent of rosemary rises like a warm whisper. Sage leaves feel soft and velvety under your fingers. Monks in quiet robes move slowly, touching each plant with care. The fountain in the center murmurs. Bees have long since settled for the night. Everything is ordered for peace, every herb a gentle word in a long, slow sentence of healing. Here, the air itself seems to say, "Breathe deep, all is well, rest now." Let your thoughts settle softly now, like a feather on still water. We drift across centuries and seas to a city where east meets west. In Istanbul, the Hagia Sophia rises with a dome that hardly seems to touch the earth. Imagine it, completed in the year 537 under Emperor Justinian. The builders created a vast curved ceiling that appears to float on a halo of light. Windows encircle the base, and through them, a gentle golden glow pours inward. It was meant to feel like stepping into a quiet piece of the heavens, a space where peace wraps around you like gossamer silk, and the soul can rest. Let your mind wander now, further east, into the warm heart of Cambodia. Here, the Angkor Wat temple complex emerges from the forest like a whispered prayer. Tons upon tons of sandstone were shaped in the 12th century, under King Suryavarman II. The walls are alive with countless carvings of floating apsaras, celestial dancers with serene smiles, and in front of the temple, vast, mirror-like pools reflect the lotus-shaped spires in perfect stillness. The water doubles the symmetry, as if another dream world lies just below the surface. Time itself slows in that reflection. Now let us follow a thin ribbon of stone across misty northern landscapes. During the medieval era, the Great Wall of China stretched quietly across the ridges. It was not built with haste, but patiently, mixing rammed earth and brick. For thousands of miles, it curves with the land, a silent sentinel draped in drifting clouds. There is no sound there, save the wind that hums a low, forgotten tune. The wall simply rests, a long, peaceful boundary beneath the slow dance of the mist. We float softly across continents, to a hilltop in Spain. The Alhambra waits there, a sanctuary of geometric harmony. Built mostly in the 13th and 14th centuries, it is a palace of whispers. Delicate water channels trickle through marble courtyards, their sound like tiny liquid chimes. The walls bear stucco carvings so fine they seem to be lace, frozen in stone. Every arch and alcove sings a quiet song of proportion and calm. It is a place where mathematics blooms into pure, restful beauty. And finally, let your mind settle into the gentle, colored dark of a Gothic cathedral. Think of Chartres, in France, where flying buttresses lean against high stone walls. These graceful supports allowed the builders to lift the ceilings up toward the heavens. And with the heavy stone lifted, they could set huge windows into the walls. Stained glass pours light in, deep sapphire blues, wine-rich rubies, and soft emerald greens. The whole interior becomes a quiet kaleidoscope, a slow, luminous bath of color. It is as if the very air has been transmuted into a sunlit hymn. Let these ancient spaces hold you tonight, like a lullaby in stone and light. Drift now into your own peaceful dreams. The medieval city of Tenochtitlan floated upon the quiet waters of Lake Texcoco. Imagine gliding through gentle canals, past gardens that seem to rest on the surface of the lake. The Aztecs called them chinampas, small islands woven from reeds and rich earth, heavy with flowers and maize. Founded in the year 1325, the city rose from the water like a pale vision in the mist. White stone temples and causeways shimmered in the soft light of dawn, a world suspended between sky and reflection. And as that vision fades, our thoughts drift toward the high, silent peaks of another ancient land. High in the Himalayas, where the air is thin and cool, monasteries of Tibet nestle into the mountainside. They were carved into the stone cliffs as if the rock itself dreamed them into being. Within those quiet halls, monks sat in meditation, their breath slow and deep. The air carried the soft scent of juniper incense, rising in thin spirals of smoke. And all around, the low, rhythmic hum of prayer wheels turned gently, like a whispered chant that never ended. From those serene heights, we follow a winding thread across the vast stretches of Central Asia. The Silk Road was not a single path. It was a drifting web of routes stretched across the desert silence. Caravans moved like slow rivers of camels, carrying shimmering silks and fragrant spices beneath endless skies. Travelers rested in caravanserais, great courtyards that offered warm shelter and quiet companionship. At night, the stars appeared close, soft fires glowing while strangers shared tea and stories under the deep, velvet dark. Now, let that starlight fade into the warm glow of a single candle inside a quiet room. In the medieval world, monks created books that held their own inner light. Illuminated manuscripts were painted with gold leaf and crushed gemstones, lapis lazuli that turned each page to a piece of the night sky. Scribes spent years in silent scriptoriums, slowly brushing delicate vines and floral borders around sacred words. The pages glowed softly, as if the very love poured into them had become a visible, gentle warmth. And where those books rested, there was often another kind of quiet sanctuary, a garden enclosed and secret. The gardens of the medieval world were known as hortus conclusus, a sheltered space of peace. Imagine a hidden courtyard filled with soft lavender, white lilies, and the gentle buzzing of honeybees. High walls held the warmth of the afternoon sun, releasing a fragrance of herbs and blossoms into the still air. Here, time slowed to the pace of a drifting cloud, and the mind could wander freely, a final, quiet place to rest before dreams begin. As you let go of the day, allow your thoughts to drift far back in time, to a city where the sea and sky meet in a gentle haze. You find yourself inside the Hagia Sophia, and as your eyes adjust to the soft, golden dimness, you notice the great dome above. It seems to float, weightless, held not by heavy stone but by a ring of light. The secret is in the pendentives, clever curved triangles that carry the load with such grace you might never guess at their hidden strength. Soft sunbeams slip through high windows, catching the tiny gold mosaic tiles that cover the ceiling like a field of still, quiet stars. A deep celestial peace settles over you, as if the very air has learned to hold its breath since the year 537. All is silent here, and you are weightless too. And from this floating stillness, let your mind wander to another quiet chamber, far away and long ago. You are in a monastery scriptorium, where a single candle pushes back the shadows with a soft, patient glow. A scribe leans over a page of vellum, his hand moving with the slow rhythm of a breath. He dips his brush into a small shell of the deepest blue, a color made from lapis lazuli that traveled all the way from the silent mountains of Afghanistan. Hour after uninterrupted hour, he adds delicate gold leaf and winds tiny vines around letters, each stroke a wordless meditation. The manuscript under his hand transforms into a hidden garden, a place of shimmering quiet where colors bloom only for the eyes that truly slow down to see. This quiet garden of ink and gold gently leads us now to a great sanctuary of the written word, warmed by the sun of ancient Spain. The great library of Cordoba rises before you, its cool stone halls filled with the scent of aged paper and leather. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls and books rest in the dim alcoves, each one a quiet voice waiting to be heard. Scholars from distant lands, robed in soft fabrics, move through the corridors with the hush of reverence. You can almost hear the faint, whispered sound of a page being turned, or the careful scratch of a translator's reed pen. Here, ancient Greek wisdom is slowly, lovingly rendered into Arabic and Latin, a peaceful bridge of understanding that spans cultures and centuries. The library breathes, and in its breath is a stillness that feels like home. From the quiet of the library, we drift upward, as if lifted by a warm breeze, into the soaring heights of a Gothic cathedral. Outside, the walls are embraced by flying buttresses, graceful arches of stone that lean in like the ribcage of some great sleeping creature. They take the weight with such tender strength that the walls themselves can become thin and open. Step inside, and you see the result: windows that rise like waterfalls of colored light. The sun streams through panels of deep blue, ruby red, and soft violet, casting liquid color onto the stone floor beneath your feet. You stand in a pool of ever-changing light, a slow dance that has been going on for hundreds of years, as silent and as beautiful as the turning of the seasons. And now, let that slow colored light guide your imagination far away, to the vast and ancient network of the Silk Road. It is not a road in the usual sense, but a gentle, drifting web of paths worn by the feet of countless travelers and the soft pads of camels. Picture a caravan moving at the pace of a quiet breath across a golden desert at dusk. The air carries the sweet, warm scent of cinnamon, and the pack animals are laden with silks that whisper against each other with every step. These travelers bring more than goods. They carry quiet stories, legends murmured under the vast blanket of stars. In the evening, around a low fire, voices blend with the crackle of embers, sharing tales of faraway lands until each story becomes a thread in the great, sleepy tapestry of the route itself. In the quiet heart of the medieval countryside, a watermill turned slowly by the river's edge. The wooden wheel dipped into the current, carried by the steady, patient rhythm of the water. A soft splashing sound whispered through the reeds, a gentle, repeating hush that blended with birdsong. Imagine standing on a mossy bank, eyes half closed, watching sunlight flicker through the turning spokes. The mill itself was a humble structure of stone and timber, but inside, heavy millstones ground grain into soft, warm flour. The whole process was almost silent, save for that watery murmur. For generations, this peaceful engineering marvel gave villages their daily bread without hurry or strain. The river worked through the night while the world slept, its rhythm a lullaby for the surrounding hills. And now let your mind drift to a long, embroidered cloth kept in quiet stillness. The Bayeux tapestry stretches nearly 70 meters, a flowing ribbon of wool and linen telling a winding story. No harsh colors here, only earth-toned threads stitched with delicate care by patient hands long ago. Picture the ships with their curved prows, the gentle rise of hills, the pattern of leaves and vines. Each scene flows into the next like a slow-moving river of memory. There are no sudden movements in this tapestry, only the soft art of embroidery, preserving a world over 1,000 years old in a hushed, timeless gallery. It invites us to lean close, breathe slowly, and glimpse the past through a curtain of woven silence. And there were hidden gardens, too. The Physic gardens tended by monks in the cool of dawn. Rows of lavender lifted their purple tips into the mist, while mint and chamomile spilled over low stone borders. These were not gardens of grand display, but of healing and reflection wrapped in quiet. The morning air carried a gentle, floral fragrance, and the only sounds were the brush of a robe, the trickle of a watering can, the hum of bees. Imagine walking between those fragrant beds, the damp grass beneath your feet, the world still waking outside the cloister walls. Each herb was a small living kindness, lavender for calm, chamomile for restful sleep, mint for a clear, peaceful breath. These green sanctuaries were like open palms, offering comfort to anyone who entered their embrace. Beyond the monastery, inside high stone walls, lay the Hortus Conclusus, the enclosed garden. This was a private paradise, sealed away from the bustle of life, a hidden world where soft moss carpeted the ground. And slow fountains murmured their liquid songs. Tall walls blocked the wind, holding in the warmth of the sun, so that roses could climb and fruit trees could doze. Here, a noble lady might sit in solitude, listening to the gentle drip of water into a stone basin, feeling the velvet touch of a petal against her hand. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flowers and the deep green silence of a space set apart. It was a place to breathe, to let thoughts settle like seeds falling into soft soil, a quiet retreat where time slowed to the pace of a drifting cloud. And finally, the bells. Medieval bells were cast in warm bronze, their voices shaped by fire and patience. They hung in high towers, waiting for the hour's call. When the bell sounded, its deep, resonant tone drifted across the valley like a gentle wave of sound. It was not a startling noise, but a slow, embracing hum that vibrated through the wooden beams and stone, through your very bones. Villagers would pause in their work, lifting their heads, as the note rolled out, faded, and returned again. It called them to a moment of stillness, of shared reflection. The bell's voice was the voice of the day itself, marking the hours so gracefully that no one felt rushed, only held, like a soft hand, in the quiet of the moment. Still floating here with me. That's wonderful. You can let these medieval wonders carry you now. The turning wheel, the woven tale, the hidden garden, the gentle bell. I'll keep speaking softly. You just let go and rest. Close your eyes and picture the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. It was finished long ago, in the year 537. There was a dome there that rose so high it appeared to float weightlessly above the rooftops. This gentle illusion was created with pendentives, which are like soft curves supporting the heavy stone above. As the sun moved across the sky, its golden light would drift slowly over the shimmering mosaics inside. Each tiny tile would catch the glow, turning the space into a sea of soft radiance. It was a place where light itself seemed to float, carrying your thoughts upward into a peaceful quiet. Now let your mind drift to the great library of Córdoba in Spain. It was the 10th century, and this was a true sanctuary of knowledge. Hundreds of thousands of manuscripts rested on its shelves, each one holding stories of stars and healing. Scholars traveled from far distances to study here in peace. They would walk through the quiet halls, where the air was filled with the soft scent of old parchment. Imagine the silence, broken only by the turning of pages, as minds explored the universe in a gentle, shared quiet. In the stillness, you might hear the faint rustle of robes, the scratch of a pen, or the soft footsteps of those who came seeking wisdom. It was a place where time moved slowly, allowing ideas to bloom like flowers in the shade. From this sanctuary, we shift to the art of illuminated manuscripts. Think of the medieval age, when precious materials were used with infinite care. Gold leaf and crushed lapis lazuli from Afghanistan were applied with gentle brushes. These vibrant colors turned prayer books into glowing treasures that shimmered softly under candlelight. Each stroke was a quiet devotion, a patient act of love. Imagine a dim room, lit only by a flickering flame, and the pages coming alive with a warm, luminous hue. It was art that drew the spirit upward, into a state of gentle contemplation. This same spirit rose in stone with the Gothic cathedrals of Europe. Gaze upon the one at Chartres, designed to draw your eyes ever upward, toward the heavens. Their towering spires reached into the sky like gentle prayers. Delicate flying buttresses supported the walls, allowing for massive stained glass windows. As daylight streamed through, it was filtered into a warm, colorful glow that bathed the interior. The stone seemed to dissolve into light, lifting your spirit from the cool floor to the soaring vault of inside. The air was cool and still, and the light danced slowly across as the sun moved. Each color told a story, inviting you to simply be present in that moment of beauty. And as that light fades into memory, imagine the Silk Road as a floating tapestry of trade. It connected the East and West for centuries. Along winding paths, caravans moved silently across ancient landscapes. They carried fragrant spices that scented the air, soft silks that shimmered in the sun, and quiet wisdom passed from traveler to traveler. Picture a peaceful desert oasis where a weary trader might pause and share stories under a starry sky. These routes were more than just roads. They were threads weaving together distant empires in a gentle exchange, like a whispered secret traveling on the wind. The camel's footsteps were soft on the sand, and the nights were filled with the rustle of tents and the glow of campfires. Ideas like the goods drifted along these paths, touching hearts and minds in far-off lands. Let us drift now through the quiet countryside of long ago, Imagine a gentle river moving slowly through the green hills of the medieval world. Along its banks, a wooden watermill stands in perfect stillness. The wheel is large, made of old timber, and it turns with a soft, steady rhythm. Drop by drop, the river pushes the paddles. There is no rush, no hurry. The motion is like a slow lullaby, spinning round and round, grinding grain into soft flour. The sound is a whispering splash, a murmur that blends with the rustle of leaves. This gentle engineering powered the heart of the countryside, bringing nourishment to quiet villages while the world slept. And as we float from the riverside, we find ourselves in a garden of paradise. The Alhambra in Granada rises like a quiet dream of stone and water. Here, the gardens were designed to reflect heaven on earth. Slow channels of water glide across marble courtyards. The water moves so gently, it barely whispers. Fragrant jasmine hangs in the warm air, mixing with the scent of roses. A cool drifting breeze passes through the shaded archways. Every visitor who walked these paths felt their mind become still and calm. The gardens were a place to breathe, to rest, to simply be. Now, let your thoughts settle on the soft walls of ancient halls. Imagine a tapestry woven with patient hands. The Bayeux tapestry is not a painting, but a story told in wool and linen. Thread by thread, color by color, it grew over many months. The images capture a historical moment, but they do so in a frozen dance. The stitches are quiet, delicate, full of texture. Running your fingers over the surface would feel like touching a soft, warm memory. These woven walls kept out the cold and wrapped rooms in a gentle embrace of storytelling. From woven threads, we wander into the monastery gardens of healing. Here, the monks tended to nature's slowest gifts. Lavender grew in neat rows, its purple buds full of peace. Chamomile flowers opened their tiny white petals under the sun. Everything grew with a patient, unhurried pace. The monks gathered these plants with gentle care, drying them in the quiet of the cloister. They brewed soothing teas to calm restless minds. They pressed fragrant oils to ease tired bodies. The garden was a place of peaceful healing, where nature's slow rhythm restored the soul. And finally, as the day drifts into night, listen for the sound that marked the hours. High in the tower of a medieval town square, a bronze bell hangs in shadow. It is heavy and old, but when it swings, it sings with a soft, melodic tone. The chime drifts across rooftops and cobblestones. It is the gentle heartbeat of the community. Each ring marks the slow passage of time. Morning becomes noon, noon becomes evening, and evening fades into the velvet dark. The bell does not startle, it simply reminds. It guides the townsfolk from work to rest, from waking to dreaming. And as the final chime fades into silence, the world settles into sleep. Imagine a dome so vast and so high that it seems to hover like a gentle cloud above an ancient city. This is the Hagia Sophia, completed in the year 537 AD, in what we now call Istanbul. Its architects used a clever trick called pendentives, small arched triangles that allow a square base to rise up and meet a round crown. This makes the Great Dome appear to float weightlessly overhead. Around its base, 40 windows let soft light drift into the vast space below. The light moves slowly, like a quiet benediction, filling the chamber with a serene golden glow. It must have felt as if the heavens themselves were pouring into that peaceful space, far from that floating dome, in quiet, hidden rooms. Another kind of light was being captured. Medieval scribes created illuminated manuscripts, stunning books that glowed with vibrant colors. They used precious pigments, like the deep, mystical blue of lapis lazuli, a stone carried gently from the distant mountains of Afghanistan. Imagine the journey of that blue across deserts and overseas, to rest in a small clay pot on a scribe's desk, for long, patient years in the hushed warmth of a scriptorium. These artists painted with delicate brushes. They applied shimmering gold leaf and traced intricate vines that seemed to curl and sway softly. Under the flickering candlelight, each page became a quiet treasure, telling its stories in silence. And from those candlelit pages we drift into another sanctuary of stillness. In the warm heart of 10th century Spain, the great library of Córdoba stood as a peaceful fortress of knowledge. It was not a fortress of stone, but one of scrolls and books, housing hundreds of thousands of them in its quiet halls. Here, scholars from different cultures gathered in a deep shared harmony. They sat together, side by side, whispering words from ancient Greek texts and gently translating them into Arabic and Latin. Imagine the soft rustle of parchment, the faint fragrance of old ink, as knowledge flowed from one language to another like a serene, unending stream. This library was a bridge, connecting distant worlds in a delicate, quiet dialogue. Leaving behind that quiet river of words, we look up now to walls of glass and stone. Gothic cathedrals were designed as Bibles in stone, telling sacred stories through towering stained glass windows. These windows were like vast jeweled curtains that bathed the interior in a warm, multicolored light. At places like Chartres Cathedral, harsh sunlight was caught and softened into a gentle, otherworldly mist. Imagine standing inside, as beams become rivers of sapphire and ruby, flowing over cool stone floors. The air itself seems to glow, heavy with a serene, ethereal beauty. It is a space not just to see, but to feel, as if the light is a quiet, loving presence surrounding you. From that glowing light, our journey now carries us outward, along ancient paths that thread across the earth. The Silk Road was not one road, but a floating network of trade routes, silently stitching the east and west together for centuries. Picture caravans moving slowly across golden dunes, their shadows stretching long in the setting sun. They carried fragrant spices that perfumed the air and delicate silks that rustled like a soft breeze. But they carried something else too, quiet whispers of philosophy and ideas, traveling between distant empires. These caravans moved like gentle threads, weaving a peaceful tapestry of connection across the vast sleeping world. And now, as you drift deeper into the quiet of the night, let your thoughts float back to a gentler time. Imagine a medieval watermill beside a slow, meandering river. The great wooden wheel turns in a rhythm as old as the hills themselves. Water slips softly over the paddles, each drop a tiny, patient note in a lullaby that has sung the countryside to sleep for centuries. The wheel never hurries. It circles in a steady, hypnotic motion, a quiet heartbeat echoing through the meadow mist. Inside, smooth millstones of ancient stone rub together with a low, humming whisper, turning golden grain into the softest flour. The air is filled with the warm, dusty scent of fresh bread yet to come, and the whole scene feels wrapped in a blanket of peaceful, unhurried time. Let that gentle turning carry you now across the wide, still waters of another world. There, in the heart of an Aztec lake, the Chinampas lie dreaming under the moonlight. These are floating gardens, woven by human hands from the soft mud and layered reeds of the shallow lake bed. They rest on the water's surface like sleeping emerald mats, cradling a quiet abundance of maize and marigolds. Tall green stalks sway ever so slightly with the lake's soft breath, and the petals of bright flowers barely tremble in the night air. The water below holds them tenderly, a silent mirror reflecting the stars, and the entire world becomes a serene landscape of earthy scent and drifting, living islands from those floating fields. Let the scent of a different garden drift into your mind. Picture a medieval physic garden tucked behind ancient stone walls where herbalists once tended quiet beds of lavender, chamomile, and mint. These were places of healing and deep rest, designed not for labor, but for the gentle art of reflection. In the warm evening stillness, the fragile aroma of crushed herbs floats up like a slow, invisible prayer. Lavender's soft purple haze calms the mind, while chamomile's tiny daisies seem to nod drowsily in the dusk. A stone bench waits under the spreading arms of an old oak, inviting you to sit and let the earthy fragrance wrap around your shoulders like a well-worn shawl. Now, let that quiet image stitch itself into another form of careful human hands, the art of tapestry weaving. In the great halls of castles, massive woven pictures hung against the cold stone, their threads gathering warmth like a memory of sun. The Lady and the Unicorn tapestries unfold a dreamlike world where flowers float on a deep, soft background of midnight blue. Tens of thousands of tiny, precise threads, silk and wool, were threaded with love, one stitch at a time, by patient weavers who listen to the same kind of silence you feel now. The fabric shows a gentle lady, a serene unicorn, and a world where soft breezes seem to stir the woven leaves. It was a world built slowly, thread by thread, to hold warmth and tell a story that never raises its voice. And finally, let us listen to the slowest storyteller of them all, the medieval clock. High on a tower in Prague, the astronomical clock moves with a pace older than memory itself. Its intricate circles track the moon's pale path and the slow, stately progress of the stars across the velvet night sky. A gentle, steady tick marks the passage of moments, never rushing, never impatient, simply reminding you that time is a deep, silent river carrying you softly through the dark. Orbs and golden rings turn in constant, calming motion, a celestial dance reduced to a quiet human scale. As you sink deeper into your pillow, let that steady tick become the rhythm of your own breathing, peaceful and unhurried, guiding you into a restful sleep. Close your eyes. Let the world fade away. I have some quiet stories for you tonight. Stories of ancient places and gentle hands. Let each word be a soft step into sleep. The Hagia Sophia in Istanbul. Its massive dome seems to float effortlessly above the sanctuary. It rests on 4 hidden pendentives, like a secret holding up the sky. 40 windows circle the base, letting in a soft, golden light. This light drifts across the marble floors, warm and gentle on your skin. Built in 537 AD, the architecture was designed to create a sense of divine presence. Imagine standing there, feeling the quiet hush of centuries, bathed in that golden glow. Now let that golden light fade into a deep velvety blue. Medieval illuminators used ground lapis lazuli, a deep blue stone from the mountains of Afghanistan. They crushed the stone into a fine powder, mixing it with care. This pigment was more precious than gold, they whispered. They painted the robes of angels and saints in prayer books with it. The blue has a rich velvety depth that has remained vivid for centuries. Each brushstroke was a prayer, a quiet act of devotion. It feels like touching the night sky, a peaceful, eternal blue. From this sacred blue we drift to the silent wisdom of a monastery, the great library of the Monastery of St. Gall, a quiet sanctuary for knowledge. Monks spent their silent hours in the scriptorium, hand-copying manuscripts on vellum. Each page was a labor of love, every letter carefully formed. They drifted through texts of philosophy, nature, and the sacred, preserving the wisdom of the ancient world. The air was still, filled with the scent of parchment and candle wax. Their gentle work kept the light of learning alive through the dark ages. And now let that light grow into the soft colors of cathedral windows. In the 12th century, Gothic cathedrals rose with flying buttresses. These graceful arches allowed walls to become thin and tall, like stone lace. The buttresses themselves were hidden, so the walls seemed to float. Vast stained glass windows filled the interiors with a kaleidoscope of soft, drifting colors. Imagine the light shifting as clouds pass overhead, painting the floor in hues of rose and sapphire. Inside, everything was quiet and luminous, like walking through a gentle rainbow. Finally, let's follow the ancient paths that connected these worlds. The Silk Road stretched like a gentle tapestry across the world. Delicate silks and aromatic spices moved over vast, rolling landscapes. Caravans of camels walked slowly under the sun, their bells sounding soft and far away. They carried more than goods, they brought ideas, astronomy, and art, a quiet exchange between distant civilizations, sharing wisdom under the same stars. The Silk Road was a thread of connection, weaving the world together in a peaceful fabric. Let these gentle images carry you into sleep, floating on soft light, deep blue, and ancient whispers. Feel the warmth of golden domes and the cool of velvety pigments. Drift through silent libraries and rainbow-lit cathedrals. Follow the silk threads into the night. Rest now and let your dreams be filled with peace. Close your eyes now. Let your breath slow. Imagine a garden, a physic garden, rows of lavender and sage, neat and low. The scent of damp earth rises gently. It wraps around you like a warm blanket, a place of healing, of quiet thought, just breathing and stillness. Now feel a soft weight in the air. A tapestry hangs on a cold stone wall, the Bayeux tapestry, stitched long ago. Linen threads tell a flowing story. It ripples like a silent river, offering warmth and a journey for dreaming eyes. Hear the gentle turning of a mill, a heavy wooden wheel, slow and steady. The river pushes it, a soft rhythmic hush. Grain grinds, cloth softens, a soothing sound echoes through the village. A peaceful shift, a quiet, endless song. Step into a hidden space. High stone walls hold the world at bay. White lilies glow in the shade. Roses breathe their honey scent. The Hortus Conclusus, the enclosed garden, a secret paradise for the soul to rest, and in a silent scriptorium, a scribe pauses. His quill scratches softly on parchment. In the margin, a tiny snail spirals, a vine curls, a whimsical creature peeks out. These small dreams, drawn by candlelight, a whisper from a quiet mind, adrift in time. Let these images float with you now. Soft gardens, woven stories, turning wheels. Gentle dreams in the margins, drift deeper into the hush, into sleep. Rest now, and let these gentle facts carry you deeper into sleep. The Hagia Sophia in Istanbul once held the record for the largest cathedral in the world for nearly 1,000 years. Its massive dome seems to float weightlessly above the sanctuary. Soft, golden light drifts through 40 windows, and as we drift further into stillness, the Gothic cathedrals of Europe used flying buttresses to support thinner, taller walls. This architectural grace allowed for vast stained glass windows. Sunlight filtered into peaceful patterns of deep sapphire and ruby across the cool stone floors. Now let your thoughts wander to a warmer land. The great Zimbabwe ruins were crafted from granite blocks stacked precisely without any mortar. These curving, organic walls created a quiet sanctuary for the Kingdom of Zimbabwe. The stones blend seamlessly into the rolling landscape of southern Africa. Softly now, breathe and listen to another ancient wonder. The Angkor Wat Temple complex in Cambodia was designed as a terrestrial representation of Mount Meru, the home of the gods. Its intricate bas-reliefs stretch for hundreds of meters. Carved into the gray stone, celestial dancers drift through peaceful scenes of ancient life. One more breath, and we visit a dim, quiet room. Medieval illuminated manuscripts were hand-painted with precious minerals like lapis lazuli for deep blues. Real gold leaf provided shimmering highlights. Monks spent years in quiet scriptoriums, carefully drifting their brushes across soft vellum to preserve knowledge for future generations. Drift now into your own peaceful dreams. Good night. As you rest here in the dark, let your mind travel to places of still beauty and ancient calm. Close your eyes and picture the Alhambra, a palace of quiet beauty in southern Spain. The walls are covered with delicate stucco, carved so finely it looks like floating lace. This is the art of the Nasrid people, a gentle legacy in stone and light. In the Court of the Lions, water trickles softly, a steady, soothing sound that never stops. It flows from a fountain into marble channels, a rhythm born of patience and peace. The courtyard is open to the sky, but the air is cool and still. Here, reflection comes easily, like a slow, deep breath. Now, let that soft water lead you to hidden gardens, spaces they called Hortus Conclusus, the enclosed paradise. These were private sanctuaries from medieval times, wrapped in high walls and silence. Wander through with your mind. Feel the lavender brush your skin, its scent warm and calming. White lilies stand luminous in the shade, their petals soft as whispers. Herbs like thyme and chamomile release their fragrance, a quiet perfume in the still air. These gardens were escapes from the bustling village, a peaceful pocket of the world. Every leaf and bloom was chosen for serenity, to calm the spirit as dusk falls. From those scented gardens, our thoughts drift to vast distances. The Silk Road, a web of paths across the land. For centuries, silk and spices moved along these routes, so slowly, like a breath across the desert. Philosophy, too, floated on these currents, from East Asia to the distant Mediterranean. Travelers found their rest in caravanserais, warm inns scattered along the way. Inside, oil lamps burned with a soft amber glow, casting gentle shadows on the walls. Stories were exchanged in low voices, murmurs of faraway lands and long journeys. The fire crackled softly, a comforting sound in the deep night. These were moments of still connection, under a vast starry sky. Time, too, was moving slowly then, in the hands of early clockmakers. They began with water clocks, measuring the flow of hours, then turned to complex mechanical devices. These machines tracked the slow movement of the stars with floating celestial spheres of brass and wood. Imagine the quiet workshop, steady hands assembling a miniature universe. Each sphere moved in precise, silent order, reflecting a medieval belief in harmony above. The clock face often showed the heavens, a calm dance of planets and moons. The gentle ticking was a reminder of time's steady flow, but also its quiet mercy. Finally, in those ancient castles, warmth came from woven art, tapestries that hung on cold stone walls. They were both practical and beautiful, keeping the chill away with their thick threads. Picture these fabrics, scenes of soft forests and drifting meadows in wool and silk. Animals grazed silently among the trees, flowers bloomed in frozen color. In the dim light of candles, the tapestries seemed to glow, turning harsh halls into peaceful retreats. The patterns were gentle and repeating, like a lullaby for the eyes. As you settle into bed, imagine wrapping yourself in that warmth, the weight of history soft on your shoulders. Drift now into those quiet meadows. Let the colors fade into sleep. Let these images carry you, where dreams are woven from old stone and soft water. Close your eyes and rest. In Istanbul's ancient heart, the Hagia Sophia holds a dome that seems to float on hidden pendentives, its golden mosaics shimmering in soft light, a vision of timeless peace. In hushed scriptoriums, by flickering candlelight, monks lovingly adorned pages with gold leaf and crushed lapis lazuli, each swirling letter a slow, meditative act of silent, holy devotion. The great library of Cordoba held scrolls like drifting thoughts, a warm bridge where East and West exchanged ancient whispers in the golden light of shared curiosity. Gothic cathedrals used flying buttresses to shift stone weight outward, releasing walls for stained glass that spilled light into sleepy pools of violet and crimson haze. The Silk Road was a drifting dream of caravans slowly crossing golden deserts and snowy peaks, exchanging delicate silks, aromatic spices, and quiet philosophies between Chang'an and Rome. A hidden garden, walled away from the world, breathing lavender and mint into the quiet air. Stone corridors wrapped in the slow story of the stars, where celestial dancers move across ancient walls. A brass disc held gently in the palm, catching the light of distant suns as it measures the silence between them. Threads of wool and silk woven into forests that hang heavy and warm against the cold stone, softening the hush of winter. Footsteps falling on worn stone, round and round, while the wind moves softly through the leaves above, keeping time with the breath. And with that, I think it's enough for tonight. Your mind has wandered through gardens and temples, across woven forests and quiet cloisters. If this gentle journey helped you drift towards sleep, leave a small sign of your presence, and if you subscribe, I will be here whenever the night feels too wide and wakeful. Good night, sleep well, and remember, the walled gardens are still blooming somewhere, waiting for your return. Rest now, everything is exactly as it should be.